It is No Gifts, Please, the parenting podcast by the pair with no real gifts, but a whole lot of gumption. Hey, everyone, I'm Steve Noviello.
And I'm Jenny Anchondo.
It is lovely to see you, as always. I feel like I say that every week, but it really, truly is lovely to see you.
I truly, genuinely look forward to this.
Yes.
Every time we're going to record.
Yes, me too.
And I just wanted to welcome you back, camper, from your camping trip. I knew that you had delved into the Boy Scouts. I knew that you had purchased the expensive outfit, for lack of a better term, but I did not picture you actually going out and physically going camping.
Camping, yeah. So we were supposed to go in October, and then it got rained out. But of course, it got rained out at the last minute because that's what rain does. But I had already procured all of the camping essentials, the tent, the air mattress, the 2 sleeping bags, the small chair.
The glamping.
Air
mattress. So it was like a little glampy.
Well, someone was like, people were like, you should get, everybody had, one woman had it was like a foot thick, like.
Oh, women got to go?
Yes, Jenny. What year is it where you go camping? Women can camp now. They can vote also.
Camping myself. I thought that it was it's Cubs.
It's Cub Scouts.
Okay, which is I'm new to the scouting world, okay? So I thought it was boy. I thought it was just boy only.
Oh, no. So the Cub Scouts, we also allow girls to be Cub Scouts.
That's right. I think I want Brighton to be a Cub Scout.
But these children have mothers also. So there were women
Understood.
there.
So they were allowed. Okay,
Correct.
Okay, got it. So
Correct.
she brought like a super thick mattress or?
Our den leader, it's 2 women actually, lead our den.
They let them do that.
They let them do that now. Listen,
how wild.
Listen, if anybody wasn't allowed to lead the den, it was more my people than theirs up until very recently. So
this is true.
But it was, so I had all the stuff. And I was like, I laid all this stuff out because now we just went a couple of weeks ago. And I laid it all out and I was like, I brought less stuff with me when I backpacked through Europe for 6 months. There was so much stuff. We used all of it. Every single bit of it we used, which was great. Because again, you need a tent, you need a chair, in fact, we were kind of short a chair. Here's the thing. For that. I also brought a generator.
Okay. Preparation.
Mostly because of the air mattress situation. Like, how will I blow this thing up without a
little foot pump?
Yeah, I didn't have that. Although I think it had some sort of mechanism where you can do it. But one of the moms, not me, when we got there, I was like, oh, there's an outlet here. Where were
you? They were at the Ritz-Carlton. Steve took the troop to the Ritz-Carlton and I knew it. I knew this wasn't a real camping
We were
trip.
at the Neffler Bungalow 4 at the Beverly Hills Hotel, which is totally lost on you because you still haven't seen that movie.
Still no.
We
can use the graphics again though, for the promo video.
It's good. And how many people were like, I love that movie.
I know, and I never felt more alone.
Well, good. You should, because you don't know who Phyllis Neffler is and it shows.
Yeah.
No, so they had there was a pavilion of it was straight up camp.
This is not.
Although they
camping.
did have I would say 6
a restaurant.
They did have a small restaurant and a gift shop. No, they had probably 7 by 7 foot platforms that you could put your tent on, like a hard surface,
like cement.
A deck, like an old, that had been there for a while.
He's trying to make it sound more rugged. It's still the Ritz.
It was in Athens. I had no cell service. It was
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that gives some street cred.
Yeah, other people did, but I had no cell service. I was on a different carrier than they are. As Doug likes to say, I didn't go down to 7-Eleven and put more money on my car.
Wasn't off the grid. He just was coincidentally used a different carrier.
I was off the grid. But it was great. It was in Athens.
Yeah.
So it was at 90 minutes. It was just me and Jacob. And I know that you've had the experience with Brighton over the last 6 years until Gemma was born that you probably spend a lot of one-on-one time with each other. And
Constantly.
Our kids don't. We try and break them up when we can, but generally they're with the other sibling. We did it on the cruise, or one wanted to go to the arcade, one wanted to do whatever, one wanted to go to a show, one didn't, So Doug and Hudson, by the way, camped at home on the sofa
at the
in
other
the den, right? So, which I think it did not last long, and they ended up sleeping in our bed. But like we got in the car and I was like, you get to pick the music. And like, he wanted to listen to Imagine Dragons the entire way there, which is so sweet because that's Doug's influence.
Yeah.
And like, we kind of talked and kind of didn't. And like, he was, like he's just very, I'm going to get emotional. You have to understand that I didn't grow up with the expectation that one day my son and I would go camping.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it was such a foreign concept to me to even, so like, I remember when we were thinking about having kids, I used to look up in their rearview mirror at the empty back seat and imagine what it was going to be like for somebody to be sitting back there. Oh. So to have that experience with my son where we got to go camping together for essentially my first time as well as his was like just so neat. And I know you probably do this. I just watch him sometimes, like where we'll be driving and I look and he's like, he's a thinker, he's deep in thought. And it's like, and of course I'm worried about like filling the dead air with like conversation and whatnot. It's like, no, like just we're listening to music. It's a beautiful day. He's looking out the window, probably calculating something, and I'm just enjoying being in the moment with him. And it was nice. And it was so much fun. So we went on the camping trip. Like I said, it was supposed to be in October. So this was definitely a smaller group of people, which I also kind of loved.
Right.
The other gay dads were there with their kids. Well, both of them were there. They have 3 kids. They had a huge tent. And then another one they have 3 kids too, but the other dad stayed home with the 2 younger boys.
Was anyone suspicious of you hanging out with their wife too much? A la the cruise ship episode.
But I will say, so like I did like all of the dad stuff and then like also like I was hanging out with the dads.
What are the dad things and the mom things?
Like the dad stuff, like all the dads were like.
Speaking of being in updated times.
I mean, right. Like, well, like I was hanging out with the dads and we were like, well, we did all that. And then we were just kind of sitting there, like, shooting the breeze and whatever. And one of the moms came over and they're like, Steve, we need a 4th for Mahjong. Like, come in.
Love it.
So like I went and played Mahjong with the moms.
Playing?
I don't play. This was my second time. It's very easy to pick up. It seems very like overwhelming.
I'm so intimidated by it. I feel like I've missed the boat. My girlfriends have taken lessons. They have trainers. And I'm just like, I don't know if I can just.
No, you can.
Okay.
You can. In fact, like some of the kids, the boys were like, what are you playing? What kind of game is this? And they'd be like, oh, it's a Chinese tile game. And like, can I play? Be like, sure. Like, let's teach you. And like these 7-year-olds were playing Mahjong.
That's about me, 7.
So, yeah, in fact, we're going to my sister's lake house in June around Father's Day. And my mom, when I was a kid, used to play Mahjong with her friends and still has the set. So I was like, could you bring it?
These modern moms and occasional dads are thinking that they came up with it, but really, like your mom started the trend.
Well, I think the Chinese actually started the trend hundreds of years ago.
That is fair. But the modern, the
1980s on Long Island were a pinnacle of Mahjong.
I thought that was a bunko era.
Oh, no, we didn't. I think that's a Southern thing.
Is it?
I think so.
Okay.
Or like actually, I feel like bunko is more of like a Midwest thing.
I never played it, but I just remember like people playing it, hearing about it. And I don't know if they had trainers for it. Like we
would play like gin rummy or like that kind of like cards. We're Italian. Like there were a lot of card playing, right? Anyway, off the topic, but so I Mahjong with the moms.
So you filled in. You did a little bit of everything.
And it was the thing that I love about Cub Scouts is, first of all, it's nice to go and get to be social with the other parents in a smaller setting. Mm-hmm. It's also nice for the kids to like, and the thing that I love about the Cub Scouts is the older kids, like all the kids play together. Like some of these kids are in 4th grade and some of the kids are in kindergarten and they're all playing together.
Nice.
And the older kids really include the younger kids. They had, when we first got there, one of the first, like we did like the opening ceremony and whatever. Now I will say as well, and I'm going to catch guff for this, but they also had like a huge screen that they set up, like a sheet, and like they were like live streaming the Final Four. It was really rough out there.
It was really hard. It's okay. I'm going to catch guff for saying that we invented Mahjong. So. Oh my gosh. Well, it sounds like it was really lovely. This segment is sponsored by Cub Scouts.
Well, they had a turkey shoot which was very Texas.
Like with firearms?
Nerf guns. And 2 of the dads dressed up like turkeys and like we're like one campsite over and like we went and like the kids hunted them.
We need video.
I have video.
Oh, excellent.
And it was like, I mean, super sweet. We also went fishing. I mean, there was
How'd that
s'mores, there was dinner, there was like, I
Wow.
mean, the whole thing.
Did you catch anything and did you eat it for dinner?
So we went fishing the next morning, and so we've talked about this before. Jacob gets frustrated sometimes about not getting something, not getting something, like receiving something, but not like being
Like
able to
achieving
do
the goal of whatever the task
fish
is.
in this
Sure.
case, right? And the other kids were like pulling these fish out of this lake, like to the
Yeah.
point where I was like going to get
Like-
into the lake and just grab one, like, and be like, oh, we got one, you know. But
Is it noodling?
right, exactly. What was that? What's that show called? Like
With-
dirty fish noodlers,
Like the
or
good-looking girl that like stands in the water
Right.
and
something
know.
hand fishing, like Arkansas
it's not
or
really on my
Alabama or something
repertoire.
like that.
But
Well, turns out fish hooks come in sizes, and I was using I had the wrong size hook on the thing, and one of the more qualified dads who had like gloves and a pair of pliers was like, hey, we're not catching tuna. You might want to downsize the hook.
okay, I
And
didn't see that in the Cub
sure
manual.
enough, like we changed it, and like immediately he pulled in two
Oh,
fish, and he was so,
good.
because he was like brought to tears by not catching the fish.
Isn't it such an interesting experience? It's like when you're fishing, it's so exciting in the lead up and the build up, and you don't know if you're going to catch anything when you do. I know for me, I'm kind of like, I caught one, but like, what do I do with it now? What was his reaction when the fish actually
Kind of
was
that.
brought up?
Yes, kind of that. And like their dad's like, is the tension on your rod? I was like, it's blue. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, but it was funny because I was like totally channeling Frank Noviello, like in these
Yes.
moments, like where it was like, I mean, I'm saying phrases like, it's the fish who catch themselves, who we just gotta wait, you know, like.
Like, where'd you get
who
these
says
phrases?
that, right?
Did you have a
Like-
vest with like tackle on it and
Like
stuff?
spins and
Yes.
oversized hooks and whatnot, right? And Jacob was like all into like the tackle box. He's like, let's use this, and it was like I was like the
Like a
first
special worm or
right?
something.
Like to catch like alligators or something. I mean, who
Yes.
the heck? Not for what we needed, right? But I was like, we just have to wait. The fish come to you, like.
But actually, you had the wrong hook.
But I had the wrong hook because
but
your
good
dad's not
try.
a good fisherman. But it
Okay,
was
so
just
he
so
caught a fish.
sweet. And he got two fish. And then I was like, all right, let's call it quits.
Was it
before
catch
we-
and release?
Yes,
or was it
catch and release.
Okay.
Yes, it was a Boy Scout like campground, like Trevor Reese Jones campground in Athens.
Okay.
It was really, really nice, and I would 1,000% go back again. It was just really fun. It was nice to get to spend time with him and just watch him, because like so often I don't get to watch him play with his friends. You know what I mean? Like I'll go to aftercare to pick him up, and like
he runs to you.
right, like he's done. And I'm like, how did you like, and just to see him, like, and there was a point where like the boys weren't really getting along, and like I had to like call everybody together and like, let's call, like, what do we know what a reset is? And like, let's call a truce. Like, do we know what that is? And what's
Ooh,
everybody's
so you were
part?
playing in what did the other parents think when you
pretty relaxed.
control.
I mean,
Okay.
it's
It
dads,
was
so
fine.
it's like,
whatever, someone else
whatever.
is taking care of
Right,
it. Great.
exactly. Right.
Don't you think we were talking about auction items a while back and like how the highest auction item at these schools or at these fundraisers is always the parking spot? I think that they could best that performance by saying, we'll give you like a hidden camera with audio to like watch the kids play, like not in a bad way, but to your point, just watching them play in their natural environment is so fascinating.
Yeah.
Just to see like how they're interacting and are they using the skills that you've taught them? Are they not? Like, do we need a refresher?
Well,
are they
and because all of
playing
the things,
alone like they say they
Right.
are? Or are they sort of saying that to get attention when they get home and actually they do have friends at school
Right.
or whatever?
Because all of the things that I worry about like aren't true, like don't happen. Like, like one of our friends, one of the other dads, they had like headlamps for his kids or for his son. He had one of his kids with him. And I was like, oh, because it gets really dark at camping. There's no lights.
Come to find out.
So he was like, he
It's like
lent
an
me
eclipse out
right.
there.
He lent me the other one, and it had like a big red light on it. So I was like, okay, I'm more comfortable that you're running around. All I have to do is look for the red light, just like at work. Just look for the red light.
We're on.
Start talking. But it was great. It was just so nice. And then we stopped at Burger King on the way home, and we got to eat in the car, and like it was just nice. And then we got home, and he and Hudson started fighting.
But isn't one child at that age just incredibly easy?
Yeah.
and
For
fun?
sure.
They're just at the age like Brighton and Jacob where they are genuinely such a blast to hang out with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like I genuinely enjoy
No
spending
offense
time
to
with
Hudson.
it. Well,
Hudson's also individual. It's just
individually, he's also a
it's the
blast.
by themselves thing.
I mean, we had Reed and TJ over for dinner the other night for TJ's birthday, and Hudson was like got out like a stool and stood on the edge of at the head of the table and was like entertaining, like holding court and like,
What a doll.
He's just both of them. They're just
Uniquely special.
uniquely themselves.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And you got that alone time. I love that you got that alone time because it is like such a gift.
Yeah.
To do. And it's like, unless a trip like that sort of forces you to do it, you don't do it because it required both you and Doug to be full parenting for the full weekend, right?
Correct.
Like neither of you got your
everyone was exhausted.
day off.
Correct. Everyone was exhausted. And so I was like, well, next year, because when Hudson joins Cub Scouts, the four of us can go on the camping
Or
trip.
was Doug like, or you can take them and I can get my weekend off?
That also. But I think that he would totally go. I
Has
think he
Doug
would enjoy it.
camped? Like, I don't know
yes,
where
he has. He
Okay.
camped with his father in like Alaska and like pulled fresh salmon from a stream.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he would have known which hook.
He doesn't let me forget it.
But
I feel like the salmon also jump out of the water, don't they?
I've never done salmon. I don't know. We were
'Cause they
like a
swim upstream.
trout. We would
Or
fish
trout family.
for trout in Idaho. That's just sort of like,
What they have.
or whatever else they have. I want to hear about this backpacking across Europe for 6 months. I did not know about this.
Oh, really? When I was in college, my junior year or senior year or whatever it was, my parents were like, hey, how do you feel about grad school? And I was like, eh. And then, of course, as you get closer to finishing college, you're like, maybe another couple of years of being in school might not be such a bad idea. Like even just from a safety net kind of situation. So like, take the GREs and whatever. And I was like, well, I really want to go live overseas. Like I want to go on an adventure and whatever. And they're like, well, here's the deal. Like, why don't you apply to grad school? And I'm probably misremembering this, and they'll tell me.
They'll
They'll let me know. And the deal was like, apply and defer your admission and we'll, pay for it when you get back. And I was like, okay. So I did. I went, it wasn't a full 6 months, but I went and like moved to London, like just got a backpack and put some stuff in it and got on a plane and off I went.
Group?
No,
was
just
it,
me. Yeah. I was like, and right. Like it was, and I like, so I remember
so very
also
vagabond
very,
of you.
very, very, very vagabond. I also remember around that same time, my sister was like doing like a trip to like Florida. Her and her boyfriend at the time were driving to Florida and,
you were like, same.
Well, like they had like the trip back in the day, like a triptych and like all of like
my gosh,
everything like, out on the table and like the planning, whatever. And I was like, what's going on? She's like, we're going to Florida. I was like, what time are you leaving? She's like, we're not going for like 2 weeks. We're just planning like our route. And like, the night before essentially moving to Europe was like, I should probably get a hostel. Like, and just got on a plane and went.
So you did it totally solo. Not because I think a lot of people, that's a common like post high school or post college situation.
Yeah.
If you've got the time, resources, interest, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like most people do it with a group.
No, so I went solo and I got there and I got a job as a bartender in like the financial district, which was great because they were closed on the weekends. And, so that was nice. And they had housing for you as well. So it was very like real world before the real world was a thing.
Yeah.
Like I lived in this house with like all of these other people around my age that were also traveling. Many of them were French, a couple of them were Australian, some of them were from New Zealand, and then people kind of came and went as like you'd stay for a while and work and then like they'd leave and go travel and new people would come and it was really cool.
And what'd you do after?
I went to grad school.
And what did you study in grad school?
Journalism.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes people do like a law degree or something. I don't know if you've got a hidden degree. I didn't peg that you would ever go camping, so I don't know if you have a hidden law degree.
I'm actually physics. I have a master's degree in physics. Then I went traveling because I was like, okay, well, I'm here.
Yeah.
And again, back in my day, like I didn't take the Eurail, like I took the Eurobus, which was also a really cool experience because it was this like network of chartered buses essentially in like, let's say 24 different destinations. And each day, like they're all moving to the next destination. So you just hop on whenever you want. And like you show up in like Paris and you stay for however long you want until maybe it's 3 days and you get on a bus. Maybe it's 5 days or whatever it is. And then you go to the next place and you might get off the bus and you might not. And then you might continue on to Germany or wherever. Yeah. And because all these people are kind of using the same network of buses, you would run into the same people a lot. And maybe you'd meet somebody and you travel together for a while. And I actually remember, God, I don't know why this is,
say it.
So this was also during a time where I was kind of discovering who I was.
I'm assuming that that's what this whole Europe thing is. Yeah.
As a person. And I remember because you would meet people and you get addresses and like, oh my God, if you're ever in America, like come and, if I'm ever in New Zealand, like I'll look you up, whatever.
And nobody knows who you are.
Nobody knows who you are.
Anything.
Right. So I met this guy in Germany, I think it was. And like, we didn't hook up or like anything, but it was very much like he was gay and I was clearly like on the fast bus to Homoville. And like he was a bit like infatuated is the wrong word, but like there was definitely like there was a connection for sure. And we swapped addresses, well, whatever. And I remember calling home at some point in my travels and my dad was like, oh, you got a letter from whatever.
Like a physical letter?
Well, that's what we did back in the 1900s,
oh
Jenny.
My gosh,
we mailed letters. Well, so he's like, oh, you got a letter from like insert non-binary German name here.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, cool. And he was like, is that a guy or a girl? And I was like, oh, it's a guy. Thinking nothing of it. I come home months later to find like a stack of mail in my room. And this guy who wrote this letter on the outside of the envelope was like, I love you. I can't wait to see you again.
Wait, so like, had you come out to your parents at this point? Or like, did this guy come out for you?
No, but listen, my tap dancing ass came out by myself, but I think the first time I ever took my mom's tap shoes into show and tell in like third grade, that probably
there was a sign.
Swung the proverbial door open a little bit. But no, I hadn't, because I remember getting back and then going to grad school. And I didn't come out for another almost 2 years.
Except for you did because of the letters with the kissy faces.
And like there was like a conversation about, like, it was a whole situation about how that all came to be. And legitimately my parents there was definitely a conversation about it when I was still in college, because like I left for college and like did not
bring home a girlfriend.
Really taking a left turn.
This has been Jenny Interviews Steve about his life story, sponsored by the Cub Scouts.
The Cub Scouts and Out magazine.
Yeah.
When I left for college, I like almost failed out my first semester. As you go and you discover yourself, and I would like come home and like have like green hair and dreadlocks, and like my parents, I think, were like looking at it from their perspective now, all these years later. I think they were kind of watching this like
what's going on here?
Significant series of like calls for either help or like change or like, whatever it was. So that kind of parlayed itself through a series of events into like, hey, like, what's up here?
Yeah.
Which was not, it was their initial reaction to all of that, as I think a lot of parents would be, especially at the time, was like, let's get you into some sort of therapy so you can kind of work through like whatever all of this is. And, and looking back at that, I think that, and now that I have my own kids, I know this to be true. The only thing you want there's nothing in life that I want more than for my kids to never have fear or face adversity or unkindness by anybody. I think the prospect of having a gay kid and thinking to yourself like, God, like that's going to be a really hard road for you. Like we'd prefer if that was not the case. Of course, now here we are, 2 kids married, like with this big, beautiful life that nobody,
that you
probably saw coming.
Even imagined decades ago. Yeah.
To bring it back to the earlier point about camping with your son, for Cub Scouts. So anyway,
this has been Steve's life story.
I mean, if you want the unabridged version, I'll tell you after that.
I do. I'm going to need pictures of the green hair.
But yes, so I came back. I went to grad school. I got a master's in journalism. The rest is history.
Where was your first job? I don't know why I feel like interviewing right now. It's just like I'm just feeling it.
It was Jeff City, Missouri.
What market is that?
148. So for people who are listening, there's about 206 news markets across the country, 210. They're based in population. New York is number 1. Chicago's 2.
Glendive, Montana is number 210, I believe.
Is right. I mean, like, so right, Dallas is, I think, 4 now, actually.
Go
I think we
Dallas.
Just moved up.
We used to be 5.
Yeah.
We snuck in when we were number 5.
We snuck in. Yeah, seriously. So yeah, market 140, whatever. And I remember back in those days, you didn't go for an interview. Like you took I had that. I sent out like 97 resume tapes.
VHS tape?
VHS. and some to like places where I was like, oh, I could go right to Philadelphia. Sure. Like clearly not.
Me
right?
too. Those tapes are collecting
Those
dust.
tapes are collecting dust somewhere. And I remember getting like this was the job offer. Like it was to the point where I'd set a deadline. Like if I don't get a job by such and such, I'm moving to San Francisco with my friends to like do something else.
Yeah.
And like, sure enough, Al Zobel, the news director, KRCG, TV 13, the pride of mid-Missouri, called and was like, interviewed me over the phone and was like, this is the job. And it's $12,500 a year as your salary, which with a master's degree is still not much money. And I remember I flew out there on my own to find an apartment so that I could then drive out there,
right?
Sight unseen, of course. And I remember also, I was like, what, like, where's the station? He's like, oh, we're 392.46 FM 462. But I was like,
FM,
what?
you know it's bad when it's a farm to market.
I had never heard that word before. I was like, FM, like, is it a radio
I learned that in my
name?
first market as well.
Right,
Yep.
I'm from New York. We have addresses like 7. Like
Right.
my parents live at 7. There's the number of their street. Like here in the South and in the Midwest, like people have very long. I don't know why.
It's the farm to market. It's country.
Nobody lives at 1. I mean, their block starts with 1 and goes up to 12, and that, and I was like, well, how will I know where that is? And he was like, you can't miss us. We're the only thing on the road that's not a horse farm. And he was right.
I'm so glad that he did that. I said to you the other day, I sent you a voice memo after I watched one of your broadcasts. I was like, you know what? If you ever question whether you're in the right business, you were so in the right business. I mean, it was just so good. Sometimes you watch somebody and it like certain things in our profession can be a little bit mundane. They can be a little bit like anybody could do it, but like a live production, not anybody can do it.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that, the Eclipse Day. And I'm glad that one news director was like, yes, him.
Yeah.
And that you didn't go find yourself working in tech in San Francisco or whatever you were going to do.
Well, when you look at that stuff, like, I mean, I look at my news director here that hired me, like, or even the one, so my Jeff City, Missouri, Burlington, Vermont. And then my third station was Greensboro, North Carolina. And I remember I interviewed right before September 11th. And then September 11th happened. And they were like, I'm so sorry, Fox has a hiring freeze. Like, we can't bring you here. And she snuck me in under the gun. And that's where I met Doug. Like, had you not done that, how different my life would be. The trajectory of my entire life was because Karen Kautsky, the news director in Greensboro, North Carolina at the time, was like, no, we're hiring. We've made this guy an offer. We have to stick by it.
Go Karen.
Go Karen.
Go Al.
Go Al. Go Karen.
Yeah. Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, all of the above.
We've just sucked, a significant amount of time talking about me. But
well, I hope everybody listening enjoyed their walk or enjoyed their doing their dishes. We know what you all do. It seems to be we're a dish podcast and we're a walk podcast and a drive to work podcast.
As long as you listen, we will be whatever kind of podcast you want us to be. Remember, a new episode is every Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. You can find us on every podcast platform that you love and some that you even just kind of like. Go ahead and click subscribe and do give us a follow so that we can make sure we keep on bringing you all of the fascinating details about my coming out story.
Who knows what I might ask next time?